Hi guys, Mrs. Coburn here. I'm going to show you how to set up to create your value scale drawings, okay? This is just a skill builder. This is not a big project. You will choose to do a different project later, but at this time you just want to get into those, when you take an art piece and give it value and have your contrast and highlights, that pushes that drawing immediately further. So we're just gonna focus on the skill today, all right? What you need is, here, I'll try to change this. Okay. Okay, so on your sheet of paper here, and give me a little bit more space. Nope, that's out of the view. Okay, you are going to take your regular sheet of paper. It could be something that I put into your art packet. It could be just a piece of paper you have at home. It could be the back of your cereal box, the inside of it, whatever you have that works, that's great. You need to have a straight edge. So you are going to make, this is essentially what I want you to make. I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe not, you probably can't. So I'm gonna re-show you. Eventually, you're going to make a value scale that goes from really dark to really light. And we're going to get into that on here. I'm going to show you the step-by-steps, the baby steps to do that. We're just going to focus on the value scales. Do not even worry about the sphere at this. So you're going to make 3 scales for this activity. I just use a straight edge. Any kind will do. I kind of look here and I kind of think, okay, where are my scales going to go? I'm going to have 1, 2, and 3. That's it. And then I can actually match these over here. 1, so they're kind of straightish. 2 and 3. All right. There's not really, I don't need it perfect. I'll put it to you that way. You're probably saying, obviously, Mrs. Coburn, since we see what you're creating there is certainly not perfect, which is the case. If you get it mostly straight, then you're ahead of me and I'm proud of you. So good work. All right, so I've made that, that's fine. Now, what you could do is, I want these value scales to be basically incremental in steps of approximately 20, I would say. If you want to break it into about 10 slots just to get you started and then incrementally gradate it a little bit subtly within each one, you could do that. Each of these 3 value scales are going to be 3 different materials. So this is going to be 1. I'm going to do this one in my graphite or my ebony pencil. This came in your kit, and this is really all that you need. It's a great one. It's plenty of value. You're going to find really great results with very little pressure. So 1 is graphite. And then you can do other things. You could either do crayons, you could I've got chalk pastels I'm going to use the brown from my chalk pastel. Here, you guys can see this, okay? I'm also going to use a blue ballpoint pen, possibly. You could even use just a regular pencil, if that's what you choose. You could use an ink pen. Any kind of pen is fine. Again, you could use a black crayon. You could use a magic marker. Whatever you have laying around is perfectly suitable. Okay, so I'm going to start with my graphite, and I'm going to first break these apart into about slots of about 10. So I'm going to actually go through with my number 2 pencil because the graphite is pretty dark and it'll keep a pretty bold line there, which I don't necessarily want to do. I just want to break these into some categories just for my brain to kind of break it up. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just for me to gradate and just slowly get from one darkness to the lightest light, all right? And you could really do that for all of them. Okay. There's not a right or wrong way. Mine is more systematic because I've done this 1,000 times. That's what happens when you're an old art teacher. This will take you a minute. So give yourself plenty of time. You don't have to do this during class time or complete it. I just want you to begin it, okay? Then what you're gonna do is you're going to get into the shading of this. Now, your smoothness and the way that you do it is really your choice. I'm gonna start at my darkest dark on this end, and I'm gonna go to my lightest highlight way over on this end. So this one I will not even be touching. I'm just gonna let that be the color of the paper. I wanna push myself and see how dark can I go and how deep and, bold can I make this darkest contrast here for my graphite pencil. Now you could go, you can kind of go a space or two. I would not do a whole darker to lighter swooshing. Go section by section. You're gonna learn the most in how dark you can really make that when you do that. So I'm gonna try to show you a little bit closer up here, just how dark that darkest one can go. Now graphite, the tricky part is, it's kind of beautiful. It has a silvery, shiny quality after you start pressing into that paper though too much. That's just part of the medium, okay? That's just what that's just what happens. So once that texture of the paper is, completely flattened, you're not gonna see the darkest dark because it's gonna actually start reflecting at a point. It's just part of that graphite ebony pencil. Part of the fun of your learning. Okay, so you're gonna do that. Then I feel really satisfied that that's my darkest dark. I'm gonna then go to my next dark here. And again, I can get pretty bold here. I try to make my stroke marks as consistent as possible, okay? I might even cross hatch that where I left some white spots, but I don't want it to get too dark and bold. So I'm gonna just let that be, all right? And I'm gonna continue doing this. I'm gonna now go to my next level, and I might have to go back and darken that. That's okay. Now, a couple little tricks as I'm working, I'm gonna share with you guys. You're not gonna have to watch me draw this whole thing. Don't panic. I'm just getting you guys started. And also, don't make your edging between them too deep or dark or darker than that space you've done, all right? We're gonna try to get that as smooth as possible. All right, you guys will be better at this than I am, which is always the fun part. Actually, this one, I don't like that rigid line there, so I'm gonna kind of try to blend that out a little bit. And we're gonna just see if I can get to that next level of dark without making a rigid line in between, okay? Now, something that might happen is you will start getting graphite on the side of your hand. A few ways that you can work to protect that. You can take an extra sheet of scrap paper, and while you're working, you can actually lay that paper underneath here and continue your working so that you can be comfortable and getting that darkest darks and moving along and going back and reblending. You're gonna be more comfortable if you have a piece of paper protecting your work. You might even have to protect this part to go back up here and refine, okay? Something else that can happen that you can do, you can take your eraser. Let's just say, if you can see this, I'm just gonna show you a few techniques right now. Again, I'm not gonna make you watch this whole thing. So you can see I've got this dirt here now, this graphite, very normal. I also have this graphite on the side of my paper. If you guys are like me, you like a little bit more clean. There's two things you can do. One, while you work, you can work with this next to here. If you were in class, we would probably do this using charcoal only, but since we aren't in class, I'm going to just show you how to protect these little spaces. You could protect it while you work, or afterwards you can say, oh man, I smudged away here. What can I do? You can put your paper on there, almost like a stencil, and you can erase that line, okay, or that muddy stuff. And you've got a nice clean space again here. Okay, do you see that? How nice and clean that is? So that's all fresh and clean again. You don't have to worry about the scuff marks and the muddy parts, all right? So that's that. So that's how you're gonna do that. Now, the next ones, as you go, again, be careful because some of them, you know, are not going to let you get as dark as you'd like to go. I'm going to show you the next one. Okay, this next one, you guys, I'm switching to the actually a colored pencil, only because if you haven't picked up your supplies yet, colored pencils might be more available at your house. But again, there's no right or wrong way right now to do any of this. If you have crayons at your house, start with crayons, keep going. So you're gonna continue to do this. So I'm working in my brown colored pencil. Now, with certain colors, the tone will only get a certain darkness. You cannot make this a deep black, for instance, right? You can imagine that. So it'll never get as dark as maybe a black charcoal, but maybe it'll get as dark as you can for this. Maybe you know, this top box you have with not 1 ounce of white left. And then the next one, you're gonna have just a little bit of lightness in there. But you're going to have to figure that out. You're gonna have to figure out the range depending on the material, all right? And I'm not pressuring you either way. Obviously, you cannot make dark black out of a yellow, right? So you're just gonna try something that maybe does have a good, you know, a pretty decent amount of shade that could affect light paper, all right? I mean, if we had black paper, the white charcoal pencil would be a perfect tool for this to get into there. So you're gonna continue doing this value scale. Again, you might have to go back. Colored pencil is a little bit easier than the graphite as far as controlling the cleanliness of the scales and the edges. So, and really, you guys take your time. I'm kind of rushing through this just to get through it to show you the idea of it, but it's really up to you. Okay, so you're gonna continue to do that. I'm gonna show you guys what can be done here now. Okay, so this is, this person used graphite down here. You can see, I know that because there is a shine. It ends up reflecting eventually. And I hope you learn this so that you know too, when you start doing certain drawings, which ones to choose. This one, again, we did charcoal when we were in class. This was a willow charcoal, so very natural. This one was a compressed charcoal, so more human made. So this was a little bit more, or manufactured. So these have a different richness and a different ability to go dark. Now, if you can finish this, great. If you need to take your time and this is all you can get done, wonderful. If you can go further, I'm going to add in a how-to to make a sphere and put those values into play here. So you can see it's not the darkest dark on the edges, but it does show you which steps to go to for that. These are great little challenges. Again, we are all at different levels. So eventually I want you guys to start finding your way and what your favorite things are to do with these skills. Now, when we get into the next project, some kids will choose to do a shading project. Great. Not everybody, this will not be everybody's thing, and that's fine with me. I want you to just know that you can do certain things, but you don't have to. Some of you might even want to work on maybe an old piece of cardboard and you want to use some darks and lights on there. Some of the white chalk pastel with a little bit of the white or the black charcoal, up to you. Or you might even get a white charcoal pencil or a white gel pen. Those are all fun things to do. So this one was a chain link that I had tested for a student, but again, lots of different options there. Could you take this values, you know, these new value steps to a whole new level? Absolutely. So you could take this then to a final project level. You don't have to, but it is fun to know that just drawing with high contrast and lots of value range has a really great benefit to it. So this was a student's piece with a little bit of white charcoal in here, but mostly it was just white paper with charcoal on here or and some graphite. So that's the fun of where we can go with this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and any questions, let me know.